I never thought I'd be the guy telling a story like this, but here I am, still shaking my head at how a quiet life on a bison ranch turned into a showdown with a neighborhood busybody. My name's Tom Harlan, retired Army, 55 years old, and all I wanted after 25 years of service was a patch of land to call my own, a place where the loudest thing was the wind and the low rumble of my bison herd. I founded 60 acres of rolling Montana hills, just outside the grip of a snooty HOA called Crestwood Pines, a gated community with more rules than a drill sergeant's handbook. I'd settled into my rhythm, tending to my 20 bison big, shaggy beasts, led by a bull I named Grizzly for his scarred muzzle and take-no-crap attitude. My land wasn't part of Crestwood Pines, not even close, legally separate by a clear line in the county records, but that didn't stop trouble from rolling up in a shiny white SUV, driven by none other than Linda Voss, the HOA president who thought she ruled the whole damn county. Picture this: a woman in a crisp blazer, clutching a clipboard like it's a badge of honor, heels sinking into my gravel drive as she marched toward me one spring morning, her perfume hitting me before her voice did. "Mr. Harlan," she said, all sharp and syrupy, like she was scolding a kid, "your fence is an eyesore, and those creatures are a danger to our community." I was knee-deep in mending a post, sweat dripping, and I just looked up, squinting against the sun. "Ma'am, this is private land, outside your HOA's reach. Check the county map." She smirked, that kind of smile you give someone you think's beneath you. "Well, it's close enough, and it's lowering our property values." I kept my cool. Years of defusing worse than her in war zones taught me that. But I could feel my jaw tighten. "My bison, my land, my rules," I said, slow and steady. She huffed, spun on her heel, and peeled out, leaving a cloud of dust and a bad feeling in my gut. That was the spark. Over the next few weeks, it was like she declared war quiet at first, but building fast. Letters started showing up in my mailbox, official-looking nonsense about non-compliant fencing and livestock hazards, even though my barn predated their whole subdivision. Then came the petty stuff: trash dumped by my fence, a drone buzzing my pastures, even my water line tampered with, costing me a day's work. I couldn't prove it was Linda, but it reeked of her. I took it all to my lawyer, Jake, a guy who'd rather wrestle paperwork than a bear. "Tom, they've got no claim your land's exempt, no HOA jurisdiction," he said, grinning. "But if she keeps this up, we'll slap her with a cease and desist." I thought that'd be enough, but Linda wasn't the type to back off. My neighbor, Sarah, a sweet woman who kept bees and minded her own business, tipped me off after an HOA meeting. "They spent half an hour on you, Tom," she said, handing me a jar of honey. "Linda's got a PowerPoint calling your ranch a public safety risk. She's rallying the board to force you out." I laughed, but it was hollow. "Let her try," I said, but I knew she wasn't just talking, she was planning something stupid. So I locked things down. New keypad on the gate, extra cameras with night vision, cloud backups for every frame. I wasn't looking for a fight, but I'd been in enough to know how to prep for one. Then came the day Linda crossed the line literally. I was in the barn, laying straw for the calves, when I heard tires crunching way too close. I stepped out, and there she was, strutting up my drive like she owned it, her SUV parked cockeyed, half off the dirt. She had a camera, a manila folder, and that same HOA badge pinned to her chest like a sheriff's star. "Morning, Mr. Harlan," she chirped like we were old pals. "I'm here to inspect for easement violations." I walked toward her, boots steady, voice low. "You're trespassing, Linda. Those signs: private property, livestock area. Enter at your own risk. Decorations." She didn't blink, just snapped a photo of my barn. "This won't take long," she said, brushing past me like I was a speed bump. I stepped in her path, not touching her, just solid. "Last warning." Her hand grazed my arm, trying to nudge me aside, and for a split second, I saw her falter like she realized she'd poked the wrong bear. She backed off, muttering about legal action, and drove away. But I knew this wasn't over. I called Jake. She walked right in, ignored every sign I told him. He sighed. Post a cease and desist, Tom. If she tries again, we call the sheriff. I did laminated, bolted to the gate, with Jake's number in red. I added more cameras, changed the gate code, and waited. Sure enough, Linda's SUV showed up on my trail cam twice that week, idling at the gate, but not entering. Then came the sticker on my mailbox, HOA violation zone. Real classy. I burned it in my fire barrel, but the message was clear: she wanted a fight. Then came a day it all blew up. It was late afternoon, sun dipping low, my bison ambling toward the shade. I was fixing a water line when I heard an engine roar too close, too reckless. I dropped my wrench and ran. Linda's SUV had smashed through my gate, not broken, but opened, like she'd guessed an old code I hadn't changed after a delivery. My fault, and it cost me. She was deep in the pasture, windows up, scanning the herd like she was on safari. 3 bulls, grizzly buck, and my biggest tank had turned, heads low, nostrils flaring. They didn't like surprises. I sprinted, waving my arms. Back up, Linda. Get out now. She didn't hear me or didn't care. Then she honked, a sharp blast that echoed like a gunshot. Grizzly bellowed, a sound that shakes your bones, and charged. His head slammed into her SUV's side, metal crumpling like paper. The car rocked, Linda screamed inside, and Tank followed, goring the rear bumper, lifting the back wheels off the ground. Dust choked the air. I was shouting, trying to pull the herd attention, but Linda made it worse. She opened her window and yelled, "Control your damn animals." That's when she bailed, tumbling out the driver's door, tripping on her heels, hitting the dirt hard. Her scream was raw, the kind that rips your throat. I vaulted the fence, roaring at Grizzly and Tank. Not words, just sound deep, commanding, born from years of yelling over chaos. Miraculously, Grizzly stopped, snorted, and backed off. Tank pawed the ground, but didn't charge. They made their point. I crouched by Linda, who was curled up, sobbing. "You hurt?" I asked. She clutched her purse, tears streaking her face. "Your monsters tried to kill me." I didn't flinch. "You drove into their home, ignored every sign. You're lucky they stopped." She limped to her wrecked SUV, dented panels, cracked windows, one tire flat and peeled out, gravel flying. I stood there, heart pounding, watching my bulls settle back under the trees. The cameras caught it all, every second, and I backed it up to the cloud. I knew Linda wouldn't let this go. Sure enough, the next day brought voicemails, HOA members demanding I pay for her car, calling my bison a menace. Linda's newsletter painted her as a victim, claiming my rogue herd attacked her unprovoked. No mention of the gate, the signs, or her honking. But she made a mistake. Her live stream, meant to shame me, was still online, showing every reckless move. I called Jake and my old Army buddy, Ray, now a county wildlife officer. "Send me the footage," Ray said. "She trespassed on protected livestock land. Federal statutes back you up." Jake was already drafting filings. "She's going to sue Tom, but we've got her dead to rights." Sure enough, Linda filed negligence, emotional trauma, the works, demanding I relocate my herd. I countered hard. Trespassing, defamation, harassment. We had her live stream, my cameras, Ray's statement, and a conservationist, Dr. Emily Tate, who filmed a piece on my bison as cultural treasures. That video went viral, and suddenly Linda's story started cracking. People online weren't buying her act. Then she tried again, one last desperate move. She showed up on my fence with a camera crew, shouting about community safety. Grizzly wandered over, snorted, and stared her down. She froze, her crew backed off, and they left. It was over before it started. In court, Judge Clara Holt tore through Linda's case like tissue paper. You ignored signs, trespassed repeatedly, and provoked protected animals, she said, voice like steel. Case dismissed. My countersuit rolled forward defamation, harassment, the works. Linda's own board turned on her. 2 members quit, and she was voted out. She signed a settlement, public apology, resignation, no more HOA meddling on my land. She packed up and left for some condo in Arizona, last I heard. Standing on my porch now, coffee in hand, I watch grizzly graze under the stars. This wasn't just about a fence or some bullshit. It was about someone thinking they could bully their way onto my land, my life, and rewrite the rules to suit their ego. Linda wanted control. I wanted peace. The bison? They just wanted to be left alone. And in the end, we got it not because I shouted louder, but because I stood my ground, let the truth do the talking, and trusted the land to push back. Now, I've got a new program with Emily and Ray, teaching folks about bison, land rights, and why you don't mess with what ain't yours. The kids love it, sitting by the fence, eyes wide as grizzly huffs nearby. But here's the thing, part of me wonders if Linda learned anything, or if she's out there, still waving her clipboard at someone else's life. What do you think? Was I right to dig in, or should I have tried talking her down sooner? Drop a comment. Tell me your take if you dealt with an HOA tyrant, or someone who just wouldn't respect your space. Let's hear it.